my 35 years of investing, both as a real estate investor and as a real estate coach and mindset coach, I truly find that what it is that we do, like us real estate investors, we're kind of a little like, I don't know, cray-cray, because we're committed to a field that will love us one day and absolutely fall out from us on another day. And it really takes the willingness, whether it's the grit, the determination, or truly a sense of being connected to your purpose inside of real estate and why you're creating what you're creating. Now, people call it your why, but when you say it's your purpose, like you get up and you go, there isn't anything else for me to do. This is what there is for me to do. This is aligned for what I want to be and who I want to be. And real estate is the pathway in which I can achieve that. I can find that freedom, whether it's freedom of time, freedom of integrity, the heart of the entrepreneur.
I am Christina Suter, and this is the Real Estate Breakthrough Show, where we talk about the reality of real estate, the mindset you need in order to face the reality of what it is, and tips and tricks to get you moving forward in investing. I am your host, Christina Suter.
Hey you, this is Christina Suter with Real Estate Breakthrough, and I am excited because I'm always excited. I would never invite guests I am not excited about. So I've got Michael Brockway with me and Alyssa Holbrook. Yes, I have to say that carefully because you guys, my long-term listeners, know perfectly well I am dyslexic and I mess things up all the time when it comes with names and stuff like that. But give me numbers and give me a contract, babe. I slam them every single time. All right, so I am excited because I've officially invited them to talk about a podcast they're launching together, but we're going to get into some other topics. But as per norm, I'm going to let you guys bottom line your history. Alyssa, you want to go first, honey?
Sure. So I started real estate investing when I was 14 years old. I bought a dilapidated mobile home and then have just grown from there. I love development, and then especially my specialty is mindset as a real estate investing coach. So helping investors either enter the game or take it to the next level based on their own personal strengths, and it's a very tailored approach. So that is my main role, is as a real estate investing coach.
Jen, I think I slaughtered your name, so say your name. Alyssa, see, I did slaughter your name. I did slaughter your name. All right, Alyssa, this is great. Michael, go to town.
Yeah, so again, Mike Brockway. I started off just with a buy and hold strategy, started off house hacking, did a little bit of co-living. And then I moved into short-term rentals to really boost cash flow. And now I'm operating primarily in the luxury short-term rental space. So super nice homes, a lot of amenities and whatnot. And over time, I'm starting to move into a little bit of, I guess, development and raising capital and helping investors get into that space as well. So that's kind of my new season that I'm focusing on next.
That's great. So tell me a little bit, just because I actually don't know a lot about your background in particular, tell me a little bit about where you're focusing your luxury short-term rentals at.
Yeah, so I'm from upstate New York, and I moved to Denver, Colorado about 10 years ago, and I've always wanted to invest in where I live or what I know. And so everything I own is in the Colorado, Denver metro area. Not necessarily the city of Denver because of licensing reasons, but all my properties or my short-term rentals are within like 10, 15 minutes of each other and downtown Denver. And everything from, I have a couple properties that sleep 2 people, but most of them sleep 16 to 20 guests. And they're nicer than the competition and really trying to stand out when it comes to at least the Denver, Colorado market.
So my brother and sister-in-law live in Colorado Springs, and 2 of their grown boys live in the Denver area. So I'm actually pretty familiar with that area and some of what's there. So that's exciting. So what is it? Because the name of the show is Breakthrough Real Estate, right? Real Estate Breakthrough. The other show is Real Estate Breakthrough. The reason why is because in my 35 years of investing, both as a real estate investor and as a real estate coach and mindset coach, I truly find that what it is that we do, like us real estate investors, we're kind of a little like, I don't know, cray-cray, because we're committed to a field that will love us one day and absolutely fall out from us on another day. And it really takes the willingness, whether it's the grit, the determination, or truly a sense of being connected to your purpose inside of real estate and why you're creating what you're creating. And now people call it your why, but when you say it's your purpose, like you get up and you go, there isn't anything else for me to do. This is what there is for me to do. This is aligned for what I want to be and who I want to be. And real estate is the pathway in which I can achieve that. I can find that freedom, whether it's freedom of time, freedom of integrity, the heart of the entrepreneur. So tell me, why do you guys use real estate, which can be great and horrible, to break through to your financial freedom?
I'll answer that one first. So I love real estate because it is a vehicle of growth. So when you are connected to your purpose, I had this idea kind of starting at probably like 16 years old. I was like, okay, this isn't about just making ends meet every month. This is about finding out what my capacity is and what I'm capable of and how big I can go. So for me, real estate is a vehicle to growth. And I love about real estate that it allows you to 10x that growth. So right now, I'm acquiring a $20 million property. And so bringing people together and creating stability in that way is huge. I would say that's the other thing for me is the stability piece, that real estate, yes, it can be unpredictable, but I think when you understand the cycles and how real estate works, it provides a very stable and steady income so that I can go out and be an entrepreneur and take on all my ventures, but I always have this consistent financial freedom that no matter what, I wake up, my feet hit the ground, and I've made money. And I think that for me is totally the purpose behind real estate, is stability, and then also riding the finding out what I'm capable of.
Challenging yourself and seeing what you can create. So I'm going to riff on stability later. Michael, you go first.
Yeah, much like Alyssa, the growth aspect is huge, right? And sometimes you have to start somewhere with everything, right? I think the idea of financial freedom, maybe for someone that's getting started, can be a little bit, far-fetched, right? Like, oh, how do you have financial freedom within 3 years of investing in real estate, which a lot of people put out there. But sometimes you need to do those bad deals, and you need to go through the hard things, and you need to go through those seasons and really play the game, which I think the game of real estate is enjoyable because of the growth and because of the learning process, right? And so I've seen real estate, at least for me, in various seasons of, doing the really hard work, learning maybe long-term rentals or house hacking, and then using that as a stepping stone to get to the next big thing, right? And going back to Alyssa's story, she didn't just go out there and said, hey, I'm going to buy this $20 million building, right? You have to go through those growing pains, have that grit, learn, enjoy that process to get to this, point of financial freedom. And for me, it's almost a means to an end, right? And that could be a means to an end 1 month from now, where I can take a week off and I can travel with some friends and really have those moments and those times that are super enjoyable and fulfilling, right? Or it could be a means to an end 5-10 years from now, where I want to live this certain lifestyle and maybe move to this city or have, only work 10 hours a week, right? So everyone's playing their own game, and you have to enjoy that process.
So well said, beautifully said. Like for me, stability and then fulfillment. So let's talk about stability first. So I love when you highlight, Alyssa, I love when you highlight, the stability of it. Like right now we're going through this Trump movement, right? It's a political movement. It's not a political conversation. Let me be really clear. I'm a longtime investor, and what I need to understand is the environment I'm investing in. That's my responsibility as a professional investor, is to understand my environment. This is not about agreeing or disagreeing with my environment. It's actually about aligning with my environment. Because the more time I spend disagreeing with my environment, the harder it is for me to align with my environment and go, oh, this is where we're sitting right now. And what we're seeing in this environment with these tariffs coming and going is the stock market also coming and going. And a lot of people, it's funny, will say to me, Christina, you invest in real estate, isn't that more difficult, more dangerous, more uncertain than the stock market? And I literally want to look at them and go, have you looked at the stock market? Have you looked at the ups and downs of this? I have invested in the stock market since I was 12. Believe it or not, Wrigley's Gum was my first stock. Right? So I've invested in the stock market since I was 12, and it is actually much more volatile and much more inconsistent than the real estate market. It prices in anticipations before they even happen. It then reacts as if it's surprised by what has just been happening or not been happening. And then it moves in these very big swings from time to time, especially since the dot-com bust. It moves in these big swings, right? And I'm like, But real estate, because it's inherently slower transaction time, anywhere from 21 days, right, to 60 days or so, just to even buy and sell something, right? Sometimes 90 days, right? We actually have this capacity to chillax before we actually close escrow. Right? We really have that alone helps it to be less volatile. Now we can talk about future growth in real estate and being able to buy online and that transaction period getting shorter and shorter, and will it make real estate more volatile? It might, but there's a natural stability. It's also a commodity. There's an asset class. Like, it's not going anywhere. What's the story? Like, if you throw a dart at a list of stocks, how many of them will be gone in 50 years? Like, that business won't even be in existence, but that house will still be there. It might be in really, really bad shape and it might need a lot of work, but the house and that piece of land are still going to be there. So that's inherent in the stability like you were talking about in real estate.
And so much is within your control within real estate, right? Where a company, I am 12 levels removed from what's actually happening and the media and social press of that publicly traded company, versus in real estate, like in Mike's example, he owns an Airbnb. He is in charge. So it works well for a lot of those self-employed, I deliver well, I trust myself, control enthusiasts, we might call them.
Yeah, maybe we're just control freaks. Maybe that's what it's about. But I like it a lot too. Like, if I want to turn a building around, I know who I can count on to at the end of the day, if I got to fly my backside out there to turn that building around, I know I can make that difference. Like, I know I can be that backstop. Whereas if I buy into Coca-Cola, they don't ask me. I mean, they let me vote, but they don't ask me. They don't say, come out here and fix our factory problem. All right, so tell me, what is it about your history that's really helped you prepare for being the successful investor you are? Because I'm a great believer that it's our mindset, our grit, but also our talent that really shows up. And that talent applied correctly inside of your particular way of doing real estate is kind of what makes you powerful.
Yeah, I guess I'll take that one first this time around. I think, Christina, one of the things that you and I connected on is just the world of finance, how vast that is. For me, I started off in private wealth management. And so I worked at a Goldman Sachs company for 3 years after I finished my MBA. And I got exposed to, working with high net worth clients that were accredited investors and have been the relationship management person. And then from there, I went to Fidelity Investments and I did a few years there. Briefly in sales, but also within like their asset management department, covering the sectors of the economy. And that's been really monumental for me to be successful in, I guess, the real estate sector now. And just having that strong finance background, it makes me more confident when I'm running numbers or analyzing a deal, or even just looking at financing options, right? Then going back to our conversation, maybe the fact that I'm just so confident in real estate itself because I've seen that other side of things working in financial markets. A stock can go to zero, but a house is never going to be worth nothing at the end of the day. And again, like we were saying before, you can control that. And so I would say on top of the hard work we mentioned in the grit, a lot of it is confidence and also just being a little bit crazy. Like we said earlier, like, okay, I'm willing to match my confidence with my grit and my eagerness to make this happen. And just get out there and just get things done and try things and learn through the process.
Yeah, and the willingness to fail forward faster. Okay? That's kind of as good as it gets. It's hard to teach my daughter that. She's 15. And she's like, failing? She's like, I got to get an A in everything. And I'm like, oh, sorry, sweetheart. I never told you had to get an A in everything. You just need to fail forward faster. That's the way that you kind of grow and embrace that life's going to come and gonna go, and how can you be at peace with the natural vulnerability of being an investor, being a human being, being in relationship, right? All points of vulnerability that are really like, can you embrace it? Because if you can, you get to have more fun. Right? You get to go deeper. All right, you answer the question.
All right. So I think of starting at 14 and there wasn't really a concept that I could fail. So I had ultimate belief in here's the law, the rule, and here's what will happen. So these are some beliefs that I rely on and that I've been working with consciously within the past couple weeks. This is when the universe wants you to have it all right now. Everything that I want is available to me. I'm radically owning who I am today, and I can have it exactly the way that I want it. And so when I think of failing, which I would just say is an opportunity, it's this opportunity to believe harder and more deeply in yourself and to get more clarity on where you're going. Because as you know where you're going, and then you align your efforts with it, you just move forward straight to that goal, and you really have the thing that you want. So this belief of I can be, do, and have everything that I want. And I think in that, there's the belief that, and this would be my history, good is the enemy of great. So as I built this real estate empire, and then I went through my divorce, right? Staying where I was, this cushy life with, multiple 7-figure real estate portfolio, I was willing to, if I needed to, give that up in order to reach the next level. And this is where I see successful professionals sometimes get stuck, is things are so great that I don't want to take on risk or a new venture because I perceive it as risky. The other thing I'll say is in capping downside and seeing opportunity on the upside and writing contracts that way, you're able to generate a lot of success within real estate. And so that's a piece that I would say is also important.
Super fun. I loved how you rolled in the mindset into even the contract itself. How you write your contract, because the contract is an expression of your boundaries. It's also a development of partnership, right? So when you're in the process of writing the contract, agreeing to the contract, you're also negotiating how you're going to work as partners, whether it's consciously, unconsciously, knowingly, in conversation. It's like a prenup in a marriage, like who are we going to be? How are we going to work? Right? And so there's this negotiation process that goes on, but also knowing that the boundaries are in the contract. That's part of the negotiation.
It's boundaries and it's creation at the same time. Yeah, it's both.
Right. No, I love it. Okay. So now the two of you got together and said, let's do a podcast. So tell me the story, because I hear there's a little bit of story behind that. So tell me the story, and how is that podcast going to serve your community?
All right. So I think Alyssa and I have a few things in common. And one of those things is I think we both are aligned when it comes to, you could see it as networking, but I see it as creating like authentic relationships, and also having the main goal in creating those relationships to help people and to give more value than what you're trying to take from that relationship, right? And so Alyssa and I met a few years ago at Best Ever Conference, and I think it was just coincidence. I think I left my laptop in one of the rooms, and she sat down next to it. When I went to retrieve my laptop, we met and started chatting from there. And I'm super passionate about connecting people and helping people through connection, and who's going to be a strategic contact for them, whether it's for their business or personally, right? And so we just became really good conference friends. And I think the first time at that first conference, I don't know how long was it after we met, I invited you to lunch with, I think it was Rich and Kathy Fedke. And so I didn't really know her, but I could tell that she was good people, and we really connected and had a little bit of solid conversation. I said, hey, I'm going to lunch with Rich and Kathy to catch up. You're more than welcome to join. And then that was, us sitting with them. We had even better conversation because they're also amazing people, right? And from there, that just snowballs into more relationships and more connections and more contacts and just more inspiring conversation. And that's just kind of we've continued that trajectory, and we primarily see each other at conferences or events, which has been fun. I'll let you add to that as well.
Yeah, I just think it was Mike's ability to just be like opening his world to me, right? He's like, I'm going to introduce you to this person. And I think as a connector, you're thinking about who's going to jive with whom and how you can make that connection. And in finding that synergy or even alchemy, right? It's like alchemy of people. I think that real estate is so fun because it's so collaborative. And so, of course, it would be so natural for us to create a podcast talking with people, inspirational people, about how they changed the game, how they disrupted their space, and how they just became industry titans. Like, for us to connect each other in this way, in conversation, where there's discovery, there's principles that come from that conversation. And I just think that that's the perfect next step to bring so much value to the world and to help people reach their goals and create that mindset for success. So we're very excited about that. There will be an official launch and announcement coming soon.
Yeah, and we're obviously both very passionate about real estate. But at the end of the day, people that do real estate, they're also passionate about other things, and they can connect really well in other things. And that's we also want to focus the podcast on other aspects of life, not just real estate professionals or real estate experts, but people that have crushed it in their industry or in their life, whether that's health or family or other pillars of life. So we're super excited to meet some really cool people, have on some friends that we've known for a while, and just have some fun conversation.
That makes a lot of sense. And I love podcasting, obviously, because I have one. I love podcasting because it does serve as this platform for being able to either role model people's success, being able to speak into, like, not everybody relates to everybody. Some people relate to my story. Some people relate to somebody else's story. And they're like, hey, if she can do it or he can do it, I can do it too. Especially with their background, with their, what is it they came from? What is it the way they process the world in front of them? You know, there's that role modeling for them. And then there's just like pure knowledge, like how did I overcome this thing? What skill or trick did I use to be able to do that? And so I think podcasting is an amazing way of both being inspirational, but also being able to create skills. And I love that that's what you guys want to do, and being able to support your community, both your listeners, but also getting other people on your platform. It also supports them. And it creates active and dynamic conversations. At least we hope it does. All right. All right, active and dynamic. Okay, here we go, guys. Tell me about a time that went wrong in your investing in real estate. Right? How did you solve it? And what did you learn, both about yourself and about real estate? Like, how did you develop that inner grit? And I know that Alyssa's going to have her own answer to that, which is not a problem whatsoever. Michael, you and I can talk about that. You and I can talk about, oh man, when I was such an idiot. I did da-da-da-da. My ego was so in the way. Or I was like standing up there thinking, I'm so fantastic, and maybe I'm not so fantastic. Go ahead, Michael, you go first.
Yeah, so I would say this the same theme as earlier, right? You're failing forward. And I'm also pretty hard on myself, can be very critical of myself. But I think one example in the real estate space or in the luxury short-term rental space would be a big project that I took on that probably took a few years off my life, quite frankly. And so I bought a $1.1 million house, and I dumped about $450,000 into it of construction, rehab, and adding amenities. And on paper, the numbers definitely made sense as far as projections go. And we're almost in our first full calendar year of that property being live. So I'm not really sure if it penciled out numbers wise, but I also had a plan to refinance the property. So I'm still waiting on that. Interest rates went up. Now we're seeing a little bit of change in that space. So I'm starting to maybe revisit that, but it hasn't been cash flowing as much as I wanted it to because interest rates changed. But I think the important lesson there is always have a plan B and run your numbers conservatively. So I'm still cash flowing. It just may not be the amount of cash flow that I wanted based on the amount of work I had to put into it. So that's the financials and the cash flow side. So we'll see how that works out post refinance. But in doing that project, for me, it was a level up. Like it was almost an ego thing. Like I've done some really cool things in the space. A lot of people locally know who I am because I'm doing those things, and they'll reach out to me for help. And that's how I started doing actually property management. I saw people were reaching out to me for help, and eventually it was like, okay, they didn't want to do it themselves. So I stepped in to help them. And then I also do some property management on the side now because I'm managing my own properties. But again, because I had a foundation and a level of understanding in the space, I just wanted to do a bigger project. I wanted to do something that was even cooler. But the amount of work that went into it really wasn't worth the amount of cash flow that I'm getting out of it. It looks cool on Instagram. The place photographed really well. It's a really fun property, and it's a really cool property to have in my portfolio. But I lost, I was all in for about 7 months. I put my GC hat on. I was doing everything from managing contractors to driving my buddy's skid steer that he let me borrow, just moving dirt out of the backyard because I was trying to save money and cut corners, right? Because I was going over budget. And so it was really hard on myself personally, on my relationships. And I really didn't have much of a life outside of that project for that time period. So I would not do it again. It was definitely a play. I was shooting for the stars, my ego was feeding that concept. It should work out at the end of the day, and it's doing okay. But looking back on it, I will never do that again.
All right. So I'll tell you I have a very, very, very similar story. You and I have similar stories, right? So one of my stories was I bought a house, right? It was a flip. I think I bought it for 1.7. It ultimately, I think that's right. I think it ultimately sold for $3 million. So I had the space, right, to put $450,000, $500,000 in it. I had the space, but my project manager, who was my partner, in my victim language, disappeared. Okay. She moved on with her life and moved on to something else, but then she left it to me to finish. I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can finish this, right? And I spent 3 hours, 4 hours at that project, and I'm like, oh gosh, I get home. But I spent 3, 4, 5 hours talking to clients. I'm like, yeah, this was a great day, high five, right? But then I'm like, okay, a little feedback for me. So I don't like being on-site project managing, right? And I don't like spending the hours and hours there of being focused in that type of project, whereas I love spending that time in real estate, but in a very different way. So I learned something about myself. I'm not good at flipping houses in the end result, because ultimately, if I'm the one who has to show up, I really need to make sure I hire somebody else to be in the way between me and that project, that where their nature, their joy, their passion is, yeah, let's get this nailed, right? Like that shows up for them. So I'm like, I don't want to flip anymore.
Yeah, and I think you and I both learned a very invaluable lesson there, as far as what feels heavy to us and what actually fuels us and brings happiness, right? And so now we know to hire that out. But at the same time, we had to go through that experience and have that experience that was, again, invaluable for us to know, okay, as I move forward in my career or within projects or concepts or ideas, this is something that I'm not going to do again. And if I do it again, I will have a partner that can wear that hat, so I can keep my happiness and not hate my life.
Not hate my life, and be willing to hire that partner back in, right? Because it was COVID, everything got really complicated. My permits already took 18 months to even get that far, to even be able to start, right? This is like, you've had that stuck project, right? Pulling your hair out. So I think that it, again, like you said, is learning about self. So you take it from there, Alyssa.
Yeah. So I would say my answer for this of what went wrong is the opportunity to have multiple exit plans is the strategy to preventing things from going wrong. And so I was in a deal, we were doing ground up development, and it was a 5-year project. So we hadn't put a timeline on it. My ex and I were paying out about $8,000 a month, and I wasn't super familiar with the development project. And so I actually just learned this in therapy yesterday. I'm very willing to take on a project that I don't have the answers of how to do yet. It's a ready, fire, aim approach. And we see this amongst high achievers. A lot of the listeners probably experience this same way of moving through life. But when you do that, like, I didn't understand that there was a lease up period after building new properties. And we had 64 units that were being rented. Mine were the last 8. And so it took close to a year to lease those up. And as we're doing that, I'm making the payments on those properties. And so what I shifted and learned, right? Every failure is an opportunity to learn. And so now I'm doing a development, and I have literally about 16 outs. These are downsides. My earnest money is refundable for a very long period of time, 100% refundable. And so in structuring those contracts, right, you're able to say, what would be the worst case scenario, and how do I anticipate and account for that before the project even begins? And so that, I think, is grit to slow down, have your ready, fire, aim approach, take on things that you might not know all the answers to, but use your brain to anticipate what could come up, and then account for it before you even begin the project, so that you know, here's my A, B, C, D option.
And if I may highlight in that, part of the description of having 16 different exits or 5 different exits, whatever it is, but having multiple different exits is a creative approach. It's very much you staying in your lane. Like, oh, we're going to do this. And by the way, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this. And in the end result, rather than doubling back into negativity or concern, which maybe I sometimes can do as much as I work on mindset, I understand when my mind is moved from forward thinking to being stuck in fear thinking, right? And being able to move the mind forward thinking again, back into creativity, back into abundance, back into awareness, back into joy, and go, yeah, that's where I want to live, right? I want to live in that state. But being able to have those plans is creative. It doesn't necessarily have to drop you into fear. You don't need to have 5 exits because you're afraid. You can have 5 exits because you're excited.
When you think about going into a job interview, what is the most likely predictor that you will actually walk out of there with the job? Is your belief that I'm the right person for this job and that I'm getting the job, right? And so in real estate, when we're setting a goal and we're working toward a goal, or in anything, when we're setting a goal and working toward a goal, you could see yourself as failing all along the way until you've reached the goal. But if you see yourself as succeeding, right? So I believe that this is successful before we've even reached step 2. I'm seeing how this is all coming together and how it's working for me, and anticipating, like, I have all these backup plans. And so I feel very solid and tell the story that it's working all along the way, which creates that success.
And it's beautiful because it really is 100%. Like every situation at every moment in our lives, our interpretation of it is the reality that we're living in. And sometimes I hear people go, Christina, what means you're ignoring reality? No, actually, I'm not ignoring reality at all. Actually, it's the other way around. I'm taking reality in as reality is, and then I'm choosing, either consciously or unconsciously, you get a choice, I'm choosing how I'm going to interpret that. When I realize that I can interpret that in a space of success, then I actually allow myself more momentum. I allow myself more grace. I actually allow myself to be more open to receiving help, to actually building community, to actually having a successful team, because I'm choosing to see the results of it that are positive. And after a while, you don't have to choose to see it. It is what you see.
Yeah, Christina, how do you become aware of your own story?
I've spent 25 years in therapy, personal growth work, coaching other people, have a master's in psychology, done regression work, personal growth work, past life work, all of it. But mostly I do it every day. I spend my time journaling with myself, integrating, setting my mindset, being able to do my I am statements and choosing what my mind is. Because I'll wake up tired, or I just ate a bad piece of chicken, or I'll, have too much sugar, because for me it's sugar. I'll have too much sugar. And then I go, oh, but that's right, I don't have to live there. And so it's actually not that hard anymore to simply choose to move forward, to choose to step forward. And so how I understand my history has freed me up to have more joy and more power over my future story, because I have less in my brain telling me it should be different. That's me.
Yeah. I think it's just becoming aware of it. And so I do the work myself with writing what are my thoughts, doing a complete thought download about something, and then separating out what is the circumstance or the fact there versus what is my story that I'm telling about it. The beauty of us as sentient beings, right? Not animals, the humankind, we're able to create a story. And so, but how are we creating that story? And is it actually benefiting us and getting us toward our goals is really important. And so for me, that's the key to feeling alive. Like when I was asked recently by my coach what my goals were for humanity. Like if I could have humanity know one thing, what would it be? And I said it's to become aware of their story, to be able to write it on purpose so that they can feel alive and have energy. And I think that we do anything as humans for the reason of what we will feel. And we have control over what we feel and how we move through life when we're aware of that story. Now, I think there are some things that we cannot see ourselves, because we are in the system. And so for me, hiring the best coaches who have no limiting beliefs on me and complete and total belief in who I can become and what I can become, that belief feeds me, and then I create from that place.
Yeah. And it's this energy, right? So there's the tuning fork effect, right? If you want to believe the people around you that have the negativity, the sense of limitations, that's what you get to live in. But if you hire a coach that doesn't live in that space, has the mindset, no, we're moving forward, we're creating more, this is what we're doing, we're grounding ourselves in possibility. And those two words are intentionally in there. Grounding as in I'm relating to reality as it is in front of me. I'm not arguing with my reality. I'm not needing to be in confusion about it. I can be in discernment about it. And I am creating my possibility right on top of that existing reality. And so that's what to me moves me forward. Like my passion is creating a world where fulfilling your purpose is commonplace. That's what we do. That's how we live. That's what we do. That's who we are, is understanding our purpose and stepping into that. That's me, right? That's my joy, right? It's having that conversation. So I agree with you. Now I understand what you mean about creating my story. So creating my story on each and every project, creating my story about my day, creating my story about who I'm going to be and how I can show up powerfully. For me, there's a constant space between creating my story and surrendering. Creating my story and surrendering. Creating my story, being humble. Creating my story, seeing where I'm standing. Right? Constantly taking in that sort of humble, real world feedback while constantly saying, no, I know where I'm going. No, I got what we're doing. Let me stay right here with you because I know where this train's going to go. But let's get there together. Let me constantly engaging in this process of moving forward, surrendering. That's me.
Yeah, love it. That's why I love hanging out with Alyssa and having these conversations, or just being a fly on the wall sometimes.
Sorry, Michael, to make you the fly on the wall. I was aware of that. All right, guys. So we are 35 minutes in. So let's bring this to a close. So why don't you tell people how they can find you independently if they want to work with you as a coach, they want to understand more about luxury short-term rentals. How can they work with you? And also, when you guys are ready, how do they find out more about the podcast?
Yeah, so I'd say for me, Instagram's number one platform that I'm on. My Instagram name is mbrockway120. And again, Mike Brockway, just reach out on Instagram. I love helping people get started, whether they want to do it themselves or invest passively and be totally hands-off. But I love meeting new people and love meeting people that are actually ready to take action is the number one thing. That's super fulfilling to me. Just shoot me a message on Instagram. And the podcast, we'll both share that out on Instagram as well. We're keeping the name a secret right now, but we're really looking forward to getting that out there and sharing, more about our stories and highlighting some really inspirational stories from others that we know.
All right, Alyssa, your turn.
Yeah, a good place to find me is also on Instagram. It's at Alyssa Holbrook Coach, or online at sovereignco.com, SOVEREIGN.co.com. And then I'll put a link to a consult call for any listeners because I offer a free 1-hour consult call where it's like, where is your growth? And I've had people just skyrocket their growth just from that consult. There's a lot of power there because I'm going to share some where I see those blocks being for you in terms of your limiting beliefs. So
yeah, being able to let people see where they're standing in their limiting beliefs and empowering them with, here's the future vision. Here's your purpose. Let's go fulfill it. I love it. I'm excited about your sessions with people. This is fantastic. And that'll be, see that, guys, down below. You'll be able to find her link. Not a problem. And of course, Michael will put your link as well, which is probably specifically to Instagram. Thank you guys so much for being on the podcast. So appreciate it. This is Christina Suter with Real Estate Breakthrough. Check in every 2 weeks for a new podcast.